Hey, welcome back to the city. I hope you enjoy this segment of the Mountain City Show. Don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the bell, and become a resident of the mountain.
All right, so have you ever had any, how you put it, horror experiences, like with ghosts?
You mean spirit ghost sightings?
Yeah. Like, have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
Where?
One
Tell me.
of them was at the what they call the Moose Building here in Cumberland. I seen one there on the second floor, and you already know about that one because you all laughed at me the day that it happened.
Yeah, I've seen that ghost too, though.
Yeah, but it didn't. You didn't believe me until you seen it.
Correct.
Yes.
You're 100% correct. I did not believe you until I saw the same thing.
And how was I that day? I was like,
you were freaked out, dude.
I said, "Fuck this shit, I'm gone."
Yeah, you were freaked out.
Yeah, that
freaking rolled.
It freaked me out bad.
Right.
And I lived in a home. I lived in a house. Well, actually, two houses that things happened that I can't explain.
Like what?
Like 3 thumps at like almost 3:30 in the morning on the wall downstairs.
You mean like?
Yes.
Loud. Oh yeah.
Yes, very loud.
For real?
Very freaky. Yeah.
So they were slamming it?
Can't explain it. Now, this house, you got to understand, this house it was an old house. Still had a water cistern. Excuse you.
Sorry.
Still had a water cistern in the back to collect rainwater.
Oh, yeah?
So it was an old farmhouse.
Okay.
My son and her 2 boys, to this day, they still claim that the light switch went off by itself. Nobody switched the light switch off in the hallway of that house.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and the house that I just left, you constantly hear, it seemed like people going up and down the steps, doors opening, closing. Just, you see.
Anybody else hear it?
Like your side eye, your peripheral vision side eye. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, well, you've seen the one I seen.
Oh, yeah, at the Moose. So,
yeah.
Good story with that. So, I guess that place was built in like 1910, right around there, and it used to be the Moose. So, it was jam-packed full of people all the time, not like it is now. And those people would get all dressed up and go all the way up to the 3rd floor and party. But what I saw was different. It was the same thing you saw. So apparently that building is haunted by a guy named Eddie.
That's what past building owner or what past members or something.
Yeah, the past members
Eddie,
asked if we ever seen Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah, we've seen Eddie.
I was like, yep,
absolutely.
We have seen Eddie.
Yeah, we have. We've seen it.
Me, you, everybody who's worked there has seen Eddie.
But I think in the initial, at the start, I think I might have even been the first amongst our group because you guys,
and the girl who ran the place there.
You guys browbeat me to death over that. You just thought that was the funniest thing.
We did, and then she started seeing it like over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
And then I saw him. He was wearing. Well, Karen saw him wearing 2 different things. He was with the hat that he had on when I saw him with the outfit you had on, and then she saw what you saw, and then she saw him with what I saw, which when I saw him he had a white t-shirt and jeans on.
So how do you explain that?
I don't know.
I can't
so I only saw him I saw him twice. I saw him twice. So I saw him in the building while I was in there on the 1st floor. I saw him. And he was just walking around, and then he'd stop and look at me and then keep walking. And it was the freakiest thing. I left the building, went out front and stood.
Stopped and looked at you.
Yeah. And then just kept walking around. And then the next time I saw him, when you come by Parkview Liquors, getting on the freeway, right, from Green Street, there's that good 300-yard stretch where when you're driving straight and all you see is that building.
See the building right there in front of you.
Well, he was standing at the 2nd floor looking out the window.
Looking at you driving up to the building?
Yes, watching me come. Well, watching everybody because I had a car in front of me, and there was one behind me.
So it's a middle of the day thing.
Middle of the day in the morning, and there he is standing at the window, and I was like, I am not seeing that man. I look away. I was like, yeah, all right. I look back up. There he is. He's still there, and I was like, no fucking way, man. I look back up, and there he is. I was like, what the fuck? And then as I pull in, getting close to the building, he starts looking at my truck, and then what the fuck?
Oh, he
know what I
knows
mean?
you, Phil. He
So
knows
then-
you. He knows me. I know that.
Yeah, that's the second time I saw him. So now my father has some experiences with like the whole thing as a whole, meaning when they would have all those parties, and there's pictures of that place up there being packed, people with real nice suits on, women with beautiful gowns.
Yeah.
You know, back in the
Well,
20s,
back in
20s and 30s.
back in Cumberland's heyday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so he would go to sleep and then he would get woken up and it would sound like there was an actual party going on in that third floor with the music and the sound of the silverware and people
Everything, glasses,
talking,
and
all of
there's
it.
a party. There's a
whole freaking party out
They
there.
were breaking it down up there,
and he
and
dismisses it.
Well, yeah, but after a while, like I think we talked
He
about
dismisses
that
it
before.
now like it's nothing.
Well, I dismiss it now myself.
Do you?
Anymore. Yeah,
I do.
I don't. There's no what's going to happen. I mean,
I don't-
I never had any harm come to me.
No, I'm like,
over
hey,
any
well.
of it. I just think I've seen it. I'm positive I know what I've seen.
I know this. When I'd walk around that building by myself, I would yell to Eddie. I'd be like, Eddie, I don't care what you turn on. I go, you would be nice if you turned on a light when I needed a light on. I go, but here's the deal, dude. I do not want to see you.
Yeah, make yourself known
Yeah,
before you pop out in front of me.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Make a sound
Yeah,
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do know this. To this day, that building, there will be lights turned on. There'll be doors closed, doors open, lights turned off. And it's just the way it is when you're in there. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens quite a bit.
Okay. With all that being said, with what you've experienced and what you've seen,
Yeah.
and what I've seen, what do you think of those shows that they have on nowadays?
I don't know a lot
Ghost
about them,
Adventures
but
and-
I think it's real. I mean, I would say most people have had an experience in their life. I'd say out of the population.
I think you're right. I think some of them, it's been dismissed as seeing things, or maybe they're just too damn afraid to even say anything about it because,
Yeah.
like when I got
sound like an idiot. But yeah, I think that there's something there. Even like when I was a kid, I told you that story about Sam, the kid that lived next door to my friend. So my friend moves into this house.
Right.
While they're building a house, the boy next door, he's a couple years older than us. We were probably like 16, 17. So he was probably 18 or 19. Well, he passes away all of a sudden. It was sudden.
Right.
And it's that big white pillared house in Frostburg on Main Street.
On Main Street. Yeah, I know where you're talking.
And they lived directly next door. And when he passed away, right, so Sam, he knew how to program that doorbell. And the reason I know that is because my friend would talk to him all the time. You know what I mean? They were next door neighbors. So he would tell him all that.
Right.
And here, the actual story is, so after he passed away, my friend's dad was actually there for that, you know, with the ambulance ride, putting him in the ambulance and all that.
Okay.
So then afterwards, I guess after the funeral, his dad, my buddy's dad, goes over to knock on the door and check on them, see how they're doing. Well, it played a different tune.
The doorbell.
Yeah. It was one of those doorbells that plays all these different kind of tunes.
So it was
the only one
changed
who,
after the funeral.
And Sam was the only one who knew how to program that doorbell. Plus, you know, there was other things. So the house next door they owned. So there was lights coming on all the time and doors closing, and you know, you hear people walking up and down the big staircase.
Yeah,
in the house.
that's where with the house I just came out of, up and down the steps.
Yeah, it was all the
always
time.
Heard it. I heard people talking. Hear people talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like distance music, like music off in the distance. This is just the latest house I was in.
And then I don't want to see them, but my sister saw one when I was a little kid, and she still believes it to this day. She's in her 50s, and it was so I was out playing with my friends, and my sister gets in the bathtub and get in a bath. She's 5 years older than me,
Right.
and she yells to my mom that I'm in the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Brother in the bathroom.
Phil's in the bathroom. Phil's
Brother
in the
in the-
bathroom.
yeah.
Get him out of here, Mom. So Mom comes flying up the steps.
Brother in the bathroom.
Right. And, you know, brothers, man, we just pick and instigate and torture until
Well, sure,
we
that's-
can't. But,
Sibling rival.
yeah, so my mom comes flying up there and sees this little boy, and she started yelling at him, thinking it was me, saying, "Get out of here. What are you doing?" And then he just disappears.
So no little Phil.
wasn't Phil, because Mom was like,
Where was little Phil? Phil was outside
Phil
playing.
was outside with all of his friends down the street, and
Phil was
didn't come
about
home
ready
yet.
to get his ass cracked and wasn't even home.
Right? So this little ghost was like, oh shit, she gonna hit me. I better disappear now.
Yeah.
Right? So
Or had been there the whole time and seen
Yeah,
you
my
get
sister.
your ass whooped, and he wasn't about to go through that.
yeah, my sister still swears by that. Like to this day, that's what happened. So does my mother. She swears by
Yeah,
it.
I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of people have stories. I think some of them
I
just,
think a lot of people do. They just don't really ever talk about them.
and there's people that don't believe at all.
There are, but I mean, you can't. How do you freaking sit there and say, "Well, yeah, I must have left the light on"? Yeah, how
Well,
do you
they
leave
make
the-
it, but the people that don't believe, they talk down to you, make you feel like you're foolish for
They
believing.
do, but I don't give a shit. You know,
I don't
I don't
either.
give
I
a shit
don't
what they
care about
think. I don't care.
I don't care about.
I know what I
people
saw. I know
anymore.
what happened.
I know what I saw.
Yeah, and if you don't want to say what
And,
happened to yourself, and
I remember that
Turn
day.
dumb
I remember getting laughed at, and I remember going home.
I remember laughing at
I
you.
said, "I am
was like,
not
you out of
going
your
home."
mind.
No, sir. We're
But
done.
you did come down them steps. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was on the second floor, wasn't it?
Yeah, the work day is finished.
Yeah, I
I'm
remember
out.
you come flying down them
the
steps,
back-
and your
no, the
face
back-
was white. You were like,
yeah, the back stairs, the back stairs, back of the building.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I do. I remember me and Karen looking at you like, he's out of his mind.
yeah. You thought I was out of my mind.
And Karen be like, did you drink last night?
Yeah, she did. On
She
that,
did.
he's on that pipe again. He's seeing ghosts.
She is. He
Yeah.
is. He's seeing ghosts. But
Yeah.
now, I do. I think when it get back to what you said about like all the research they do on them now, I think it's right. I think it's true. I mean, you can't explain it. I mean, how can you explain that?
I mean, I've seen some things on those shows.
Like where the person
But-
died and then you see their spirit come right out of their body,
Right.
like
yeah.
right at the car wreck.
Yeah, but I mean, with today's technology, people easily dismiss that. you
Yeah, they
know?
can, because you can make that.
Yeah, you can make it.
You know, I mean,
Just
it'd
like
take you a
you can-
long time,
Just
but you
like
can
with
make
the,
it.
some of the things that I've seen on those shows and that is definitely interesting, and it definitely freaks you out. But is it real, or is it something that they've created just for ratings, just to get
It could
a
be
viewership?
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, my next door neighbor does all that, and she swears by it. She's got all them meters and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of- She swears
There's
by
a
it.
few in town that do that. I'd like to try to do that one time.
I think it'd be neat,
I think it would be fun.
but it makes you wonder. Like,
I think it'd be
would
fun.
it have to be something that horrible that happened in the home or
I don't think
wherever?
so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
You know,
I think some people just don't want to go. They just want to hang out.
yeah, that's true too.
I really do.
Yeah,
They're not ready to go.
I don't want to go yet.
Or they died too soon, or they just weren't ready. When they died, they weren't ready to die.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Or there's some unfinished business, or
That's a big one. They say.
who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Or it's a different dimension.
I don't think it's all
Heard
bad.
that too.
Well, different time,
Different
part in time,
like a different
Like,
type dimension.
I've heard that we're living here in our current time.
Mhm.
Then there's the past time,
Yeah.
and the future time, and it's already happening simultaneously.
Yeah, I've heard that too. So I don't know.
You know
but
what I mean?
It's something. You can't.
And then what they call it residual sounds too, sounds from the past.
yeah. So
You've
I
heard
mean, you
that before,
can't.
too. Like
Yeah.
if these walls could talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty cool.
I just don't think it's one thing. Like you can't dismiss it. It's something's happening.
yeah,
Too
I
many
agree.
people see it and have experiences.
I agree.
Like even I remember where I used to work. I'd see people walking down the hallway.
Well, that third floor down in Hagerstown,
Yeah,
I hated going up there.
mine was the basement.
I hated going.
Mine
up
was
there.
down in the annexes because that's where I saw people walking around.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I even
old
yelled
building.
at one. This is no shit.
That old prison. Was
Like I
spooky
yelled
to
at
begin
one.
With.
I yelled at a dude because he wasn't supposed to be out, and I yelled at him, and I started following because he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. Well, he makes it to the stairwell, just made that left to go into the stairwell,
And gone.
and I came around and went in the stair, and he was gone.
Gone.
Like
See, I never
just
had anything
gone.
like that. I never really had anything happen to me down there, but I just didn't feel right on that third floor.
Oh
Up where the old hole and the chapel was up
Yeah, I
there,
didn't
and the
either.
old gym. Something was just not right about that
yeah, I
third
agree.
floor.
I agree.
Yeah,
It had a weird aura
yeah,
about
and
it.
that place was spooky anyway to begin with. It's so
It was.
old, so
It was spooky.
I'd like to go in it when it's empty. I think that would be wild, especially since I've experienced.
Wind up being a
Full
museum one
bore.
day, probably.
Yeah.
It's so old.